Hi, this is Erica from Welcome Mama on Fire, and welcome to my channel. I'm excited because I've started this series called Spectrum Sister Chat. And today I have my first Spectrum dad to chat with. So thank you, person, for joining me for the chat. I'm going to go ahead and quickly play my little intro, and then we'll come right back. All right, so we are back. And so how I usually start here, so I don't know if you saw my other videos, is this kind of set the stage for you and know what my purpose is and why I'm doing the interviewing. So for me, my son was diagnosed with autism when he was 3, and that was in 2019. And in January 2020, he started doing ABA therapy and beginning his journey through his, autism life. And along the way, I didn't find too many other Black parents, to be honest, to talk to, learn from their experience and all of that. Thankfully, during this time of the pandemic, I came into all these great groups in Facebook. And that's how first I learned of you through Dominique, who was my first one I got to interview. So that's how I came about this whole YouTube channel and talking about Black autism awareness and just sharing our experiences, joys and struggles along the way. So that's kind of like set the stage there. But Harrison, please do introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit more about you and your son. Of course, you may hear my son in the back doing his thing. So here we go.
All right. My name is Harrison Anderson. I live in Wisconsin. We learned about my son having autism when he was about almost ending 2 years old. We were going through a journey. He wasn't speaking so much, and my wife more than me was eagle-eyed with it, because I feel like mothers are sometimes on it where I was just like, he's a boy, talk late and do all this. And then we got his diagnosis, and he's nonverbal and had autism. And so we first started him off in ABA, actually Birth at 3 here, which is an early intervention program. And then we went into having him in Head Start, and then ABA, and then into the school system. And now he does OT, and he's 8 years old right now. So it's been quite interesting.
Yeah. And so over the last, I guess, kind of like 5.5 years, how has your journey been as far as being supported by, say, other parents, or just overall navigating services for your son? How has that been for you?
It's been interesting because, all right, so when I first started off, I was working in a child care center. So I had 3-year-olds and stuff like this. And when I first learned about it, it was a really, like, I had been a teacher before, and I had had older students that had autism, but I'd never seen it from the younger side. So it was quite difficult for me to actually figure out how actually it went from being young into the older of having autism, and how did that work. Our services, it took a long time to find all the services, because we didn't know anything. Me and my wife had no clue about what was offered, what could be done, how to approach the problem with getting him to places that could help him out. And that was one of the bigger things that we were dealing with. We eventually came across a parent support group here, and that parent support group introduced me to my boss, and I work to help parents now get those resources and stuff and find them. So
that's wonderful.
Yes.
And when you say here, I guess, tell us, where are you? What city, state?
I'm in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. That's in the, I want to say that's in the western area, kind of northwestern, but the western area of Wisconsin.
Yeah. Is that considered a mountain time? I'm not sure, so forgive me.
Yes, we're in Central Time, so.
Central Time, okay. I don't know. I'm the worst at geography.
It's 1:12 here. I was trying to make
Okay.
sure because I've messed up on these times before where I was like, oh,
Right. Yeah.
so, so yeah, and it's quite interesting because like actually we do have a bunch of services because of the area, but we don't have some. We lack certain services like respite care and things like that
Hmm.
because of the area also. And there's also no like some states like Minnesota give like a child care subsidy. So like you can taking care of your child with a disability, you can get paid by the state. Wisconsin doesn't do that. Wisconsin's like no.
Oh wow, I have no idea, and I know every state is so different and what they provide their families, and wow, so I had no idea about that in Minnesota.
Yeah, so it is different. Like every state is different. Um, and I try like I have a group in which I try to help parents from different states, but it's really different. Every single state has different names for everything,
Hmm.
different helps, different grants that'll help out here, things that we have, they don't have, things they have, we don't have. So it's a weird kind of patchwork system across America.
It really is. Yeah, it's really not much integration or standardization either
Yeah.
across the states. That's the unfortunate thing about it. We're United States, but we're truly not, right?
We're
Not in
like
those
50
ways.
different countries mixed
It
together,
is. It's 50
and none of
different
them
countries.
actually
It
speak
really
to
is.
each other.
That is the truth ever. And actually, and just in hearing you talk about how you're helping parents across, not just in Wisconsin, have you begun to kind of create little guidebooks almost, or like a resource guide? Because some of you would be.
We are trying to do a resource guide. As of right now, I'm so my main group. The main group that I joined was Black parents of children with autism and other disabilities.
Hmm.
But also, I'm in a group that's in like Dominique's group, which is in Tennessee, and I'm in a group that's in Las Vegas, and I'm in a group that's in Florida. And what I'm trying to do is help those groups. Like our group has like 1.8K members, so we're
Hmm.
just trying to help Black groups. Like they can come in, they can ask questions, and then they can go out
Yes.
and see. And we're trying to build up that whole network, and we're trying to build up those resources where parents can just go and say, okay, look, this is what they have in this state.
Hmm.
But the task is actually very big.
Yeah. Well,
And
I'm glad to hear you have a group in Florida. Please do connect me. I don't know if you know, but I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. So I would love to connect with them. So chat me in Facebook, whatever else, and make the connection. I'll love to join that group and get connected.
I'll definitely send you to that group. The person's taking
Oh,
care of that is
awesome.
Tosha, so I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
And also, we're trying to help out like Black People International. Like we're coming to some resources for the Cameroon right now, and we're trying
Hmm.
to connect parents with the camera, like in the Cameroon, to these resources. And we're trying to help families that are international, especially Black families that are
Right.
international. But there again, different rules, different
Right.
organizations,
Hmm.
some different amount of help depending on like where they're at.
Yeah. And really, and just hearing you doing the outreach to international as well, and especially Africa, is just so encouraging, and it's a big task you're taking on to do so. So like, how are you even able to manage all of that? Like, I can imagine the demands of wanting to serve and help so many people. That you have your own, your nuclear family you got to take care of, and you're also working as well. How are you balancing that? What does self care look like for Harrison and all this?
I go walking with my son and we go bike riding. That's one of our big things to do, and we'll probably go kayaking once the weather decides it's going to be actually spring. But
Right.
helping all of these groups are basically finding like strong parents who want to take over and lead and do that, and connecting those resources with the parents. That
Right.
way, they kind of do the heavy lifting of it, and we kind
Hmm.
of connect them with the resources that are scattered.
Yeah. And that's the ideal way to do it. Train the trainer. That's how I'm thinking. Like you find those identified advocates in those groups, you train them on how to do it, and they go on and grow it from there. So that's a great, amazing work, Harrison. And I'm going to do whatever I can do to help support you in doing that. And I know you probably heard and saw that I started my own nonprofit as well. And with that, my focus of Shades of Autism Parent Network is really something similar to how what you're already doing. So I really want to just like reel you in and have you probably be one of the volunteers with us and to assist and do that same kind of work. I'm just excited about it, especially when it comes to one, sharing those resources with families that's kind of unique to their states. And of course, start small, wherever you can get to. So like I said, those first 4 states you're working with, build up those resource guides and have those parents be empowered to go and get others and to share more. But also to the international piece, because one focus that I have is really being able to encourage, Black families with children with special needs like autism, is to have their children experience the world, right? Like go and travel. It's more than just wherever state and city that you live in, and don't feel isolated within your home. And because so many do feel like they don't go out too much, may not go to a restaurant even because of different kind of ways they may be treated, or they don't want to go to theme parks or wherever else they may not want to do because of how others may look upon or wherever else. And it kind of for us as parents, we have to build up our own, I guess, thick skin, as they say, so that way those kind of darts that may come at our kids, we can kind of handle them for him, for them, in that sense. But also too, but to me, like, it's just this power and unity with others. So it's like if you have a crowd going with you, experiencing a trip, you won't feel so as isolated. So one big goal and mission I have really is just to encourage the Black families with special needs, get your child a passport. Let's go in and see the world together and expose their child more to wherever they can't understand. But of course, we know kids on the spectrum, they have different levels of understanding and ability in that sense of being able to, like from nonverbal to those who are, I'll even say hyperverbal. Some kids talk so fast you can't catch what they're saying.
Yes.
So the spectrum is just so wide. But but as parents, we're experts on our kids, so we're able to translate whatever they may see. So just in hearing that, what's your thoughts? And from what I understand from you previously, you have traveled internationally before, and I welcome your thoughts or how input you want to share on that piece.
So yeah, I traveled around for something like altogether probably around 35 years. South America, and then Europe, and then Asia. And actually, the part of trying to get I definitely would love parents to go out and experience new things. Also, that is something that I was working on too. Is that international piece? I'm hoping to talk to a few autistic travel guides and a few
Yes.
I'm hoping there is a website called Black Noir that I'm hoping to try to get a hold of and see if they can also start talking about places that are good for Black parents with autistic kids. There's tons of places out there that are actually pretty and actually a lot of the Caribbean islands are actually really good places to go with your autistic kids because they have a lot of setup for them and they can sit up for a while. There's places within Jamaica and places around the Bahamas and stuff like that that are they specialize in helping parents with autistic kids and stuff. So one of those things is just finding out where that information is and getting it in a place where Black families can access it and understand where it's at. Problem is once again, we're a very scattered place, and Black people are 13% of the population, but we're all over.
Right.
So trying to get them to information is one of the biggest obstacles I have to find out how to get past. Because there are a ton of programs out there to get discounts on different theme parks.
Right.
So we were always working on that. I forget, we went down to Texas to because they have a disability theme park down there, and my son enjoyed that so much.
Really?
Yes.
Where in Texas? Do you remember the
It was in San Antonio.
Okay.
I want to say something's world.
The Six Flags?
No. This place is actually built. The guy who built it, his daughter has autism. Hold on for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember we went to a vacation? What place that was called? No, can't remember.
That's
uh,
okay. You can always chat me along the way because I'm right there with you. I would love to help build a travel guide of locations, places where families with children with autism can feel comfortable going and feeling supported when they get there. Um, so I would love that as well. Because actually, what I'm planning now, I'm working with a travel agent who's also doing some research to plan like a spring break event or for families and for us to go to a location for spring break, as a group somewhere where it's going to be sensory, adaptable, I guess you can say, and all those kind of things. So I welcome your thoughts and feedback on that too. Initially, we were thinking of doing a cruise. I'm not sure if you heard of. It's called Autism on the Seas.
Autism on, yes.
Yeah, Autism of the Seas. So yeah, so they are a group nonprofit out there that supports families in going on cruises, and I heard some great things about them as well. Um, so I was like, okay, well maybe we can do some of that and be like chocolate autism on the seas, or wherever else, or right
Yeah,
along with them. So just as a heads up, think about that. We are talking with actually Autism with the Seas about putting together a cruise package for our audience. So we'll see. Keep you posted. So the name was Morgan Wonderland. Is that it?
yeah, Morgan's Wonderland, and it's in Texas. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's a water park. My son
Oh,
and I'm like, there's all type of kids on the spectrum there. There's all types of kids with disabilities there. They have things for like kids with wheelchairs. All of their superheroes
great.
that are made, they're superhero like iconic superheroes have disabilities.
Yeah.
So it was really wonderful. It's actually a good place, and I think it's a really good place for like big groups to go to because they do that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Harrison. Because one thing I wanted to be able to offer each year, so like my goal for the organization as a whole is to offer like 4 events a year. So one being international, and then another like some local or domestic, I would say, like trips we can all do in different times of the year. So maybe Morgan's Wonderland could be a good summer trip for San Antonio, Texas next summer.
Yes.
I'm planning up the calendar. So you're helping me do that. So thank you.
And you should never like a lot of camps will actually like if you have a big group, a lot of camps will actually set up things for you for like your group to be able to do that. And that's even with like even the kids have disabilities and stuff. So you can set that up too. So that's
Yeah.
also a very good resource to use.
Oh, I will. Because I did see this other place, and it's beautiful. And I'm thinking about planning one there too. I believe it's in, I think it's Utah. No, it's like right outside of Salt Lake City. It's a beautiful camp. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's
Yes.
like you can
I
sleep
can't,
in a stagecoach,
yes.
the
I can't
teepees.
remember the name of it, but yes, I'd like I've
Isn't that amazing? To me, I feel like it'd be an amazing, fun experience for kids. Like, but so I was thinking as one of those too.
so those are one of the things, and I think it's really good because one of the bigger problems that a lot of like parents with disability deal with is that the socialization part. You can hear.
Right.
Let him speak. He's fine.
That's okay. Hey.
So the socialization piece is big. I hear sometimes to have a kid that's like he's a 21, 22, and parents like, oh, he's never had a friend, and that's something
I know.
really discouraging.
Right.
Like, okay, so how do we tackle a problem like this? How do we like get it so they do have that opportunity to make their own friends? And that's one of the things that we also are looking at too.
I love that because I feel that same way. Right now my child's he's my only child. So is he your only son as well? Only child
Yes,
for now?
is our only child.
Yeah. So that's always a concern for I think for us only child parents is that you want them to be able to have friends. And in many respects, it's kind of like hoping that at least my hope is like starting these in these like groups and social groups and all that is that they can grow together, however level they are, and remain some kind of friendships along the way. So yeah, so association is key. I think both for the children, of course, but for the parents as well. I just see so many that just kind of just go into themselves and off. Like I know for me, for example, like when I go to the therapy center to pick up my son, like the other parents, they all like stand off into their own little corners. And they just get their kids and they kind of run off too. Like you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm like, what? Even for me, it's like, and I'm there in person. Here I am. I want to be a social person, but I'm scared to go talk to the other parent in a way because I feel like they're already kind of standoffish. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where it's needed, but it's like how to break those barriers too.
One of the things that we did talk about was like social designs for those rooms. So the
Mm.
thing is when I worked in Japan, one of the biggest things that they did is they wanted the parents to speak. So what they had was to set up like a coffee table in the middle of the waiting room with things that were like parents had to face each other at different things. So you sat down, you'd just have to you'd face this person, and maybe you get a cup of coffee and you say hi. And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of was designed so parents would speak with each other, and that they would have that like they would know who their classmate parents were.
That's
Um,
true. I love
and
that.
that's a big thing. But a lot of things that are designed here are kind of like we're in a waiting room and it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and nobody wants to be the first one to jump out to say anything. And I understand that.
Yeah, it's the truth. And I love that. So it's called social design. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's very true. Like, I feel like if there was a way that it didn't feel like you were in like a doctor's office, even though it's a therapy clinic and but this like I said, it's a waiting room, and so everyone just goes in their little corner and they sit in their chairs, and because we're all being socially distanced anyway, so it's just like
So it's really like so they're already social distancing, and so you never make those great connections that you would make if it was something that was designed for you to say, okay, look, we're across from you. Oh, your son goes here, your daughter goes here. Oh, yeah, blah, 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 to lead into conversation. Because to tell you the truth, we're probably more likely going to hang out with parents who understand our situation than we are with random parents who may not. Because there's times that we have to like say, I'm sorry, it's just not going to make it. He's not going to be able to do this.
mm-hmm.
And in my experience, a lot of parents with special needs are like, oh, no problem. We'll see you next time.
Right.
You're doing
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do.
Yeah, and also too the understanding of okay, like he's going to be singing or hymning or doing whatever he's going to be doing, and
Mm.
that's okay. You
Yes.
just go on, and it's no problem. I think let me ask you this because I think from the mom's perspective, we're here from the dad's perspective. Um, so with family, and when you first brought your son around, your immediate family, so your parents, aunts, uncles, cousins. How was he received? If you don't mind me asking, because sometimes it seems like, just within, I say, my family initially, with behaviors that they don't understand, they lean on the old school thinking of, oh, this child needs a whooping, or this child needs this, or some boys don't talk today, no 10, or whatever. Like they give you these excuses of maybe why
Oh,
something is happening as opposed to medical doctors. Uh, have you experienced that? I want to hear or see the difference from what mothers experience. I think mothers get it harder, but I'm just curious to hear what you may have experienced.
okay. So I would tend to say that like I was late almost in everything. So I guess I was late in speaking, a little bit late walking. He's a really sensitive kid too. And so when my mom like when we were first going through it, my mom was like, "Oh, he's a lot like you. He's doing a lot of the stuff that you did," and it's true. And also, I was working with 3-year-olds at the time, and my 3-year-olds had a lot of, I mean, 3-year-olds. That's why it's kind of hard to figure out if kids have autism, is because 3-year-olds are like crazy. So like
I know, right?
they have all
Terrorizing.
these like strange behaviors themselves until they grow out of it. Well, that was one of the things. I was more the pressure for my wife. It's like, nah, whatever. My wife's like, nah, I think something's, I think we need to like check this out. And I was like, eh. Yes. And so I was kind of the person that insisted when we found out, um, my family was really supportive when we found out. One, because my, like, um, mind you, when my mom was younger, she was I mean, typical black parent. I mean, like, definitely like, listen to me, you sis, this. Now that she's a grandmother, I'm like, who is this woman? I don't know who
Right.
you are. What happened to you? But she's a lot like she kind of understands like those weapons that that's not gonna help him. That's not gonna do what it is. My sister always has been in like she's always been like in for a penny in for a pound. So she was like, okay, he has autism. What's next? What are we gonna do? Next plan. She's already. In fact, sometimes I think she overplans. I'm like, dude, you need to calm down, kid. But she's always been a big help for us.
Mm-hmm.
other than that, it's kind of more like even my wife's parents. That they're pretty good. Like they once they understood it, what was going on, they've been super supportive about like
Mhm.
helping them out and doing things like that, which has been very great. Like family wise, we've been really blessed. I have seen where family wise people haven't, and it's really
Yeah,
difficult. And I do know that it leans really hard on the mother. It does.
yeah,
There are some things that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna skip and get out of here. And there's some things that like, extra advice, which sometimes mothers and mother-in-law sometimes get extra advice from that she may not appreciate. And then there's been sometimes like, like zooming out with her mom that you might not appreciate. But in general, that they're trying to help out. And I mean, it's never been kind of like, well, you should whip him or you should do this. It's more
yeah.
like, well, I found this program, maybe, this can
Yeah,
help.
oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that because sometimes it's good to hear the other perspective because not every family has different dynamics, and so I'm glad to hear that you had great supportive family around you. Thank you, your wife's family too. That's a huge blessing because it definitely takes a village to to address all the issues and concerns. So I'm glad to hear that perspective. Yeah, I'm also blessed in that sense that I have a great extended family support. Like my sister is here and she's like an awesome aunt. Like, she's a proud, awesome aunt and she's there supporting. Then my husband as well is there with us. So I'm glad to hear that too.
All right.
We're going on to my list of questions. So before you became a father to your son and did all this great work that you're doing now in supporting other parents, who was Harrison? Like, who was Harrison before all of that?
Just we're just traveling around. Mainly traveling around teaching English here and there to different countries. I have to think. I was like kind of like fly by night. I do whatever like this, and I go to the next place. It was really for like decades just that way. Yes, for decades I was like, oh, okay, well, I like this, and then I got stuck in Osaka, and I really liked it, and so I stayed there for almost 15 something years. But there's so much to do. Like you could go to Kyoto and Kobe and other places, and then you could also go to like Korea from there easy. So it was a nice place to actually stay in.
That's awesome. So you was like a true nomadic, living that life.
Yes, which made it harder to come back because
Yeah.
there's definitely like I've missed a few decades here, and there is a change in how it was when I left to how it is now.
So how recently have you come back? So when did you come? Was it 8 years ago when you had your son, or was it?
Well, it's almost 7 to 8 years ago we came
Yeah.
back, and we came back to, like I hadn't seen my family in a decade or so, so we came back to so I could see everybody, and I thought we would kind of my plan was to move to Hawaii. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was like Hawaii's the gateway. We can go to anywhere. We can go down back to Asia and we can do like all this stuff. But
Mhm.
then ended up when we found out that he had autism, we're like, okay, well the services in Hawaii may not be the same as they are here. And sure enough, I did a lot of like searching and was like, okay, we have a lot of services here that I don't see in Hawaii, so I don't necessarily want to go where my son gets less service.
Right. That's great. I mean, like you have to make that sacrifice, of course, for your child. But like, so you can always travel. That's the beautiful thing, right? Once we get our vaccines, I guess you can go to Hawaii and go back to Japan and everything else.
Yeah.
That's exciting in that sense. Let me go. Let's see. Hmm. Let's see. Wow, so we did pretty much hit my big questions I was going to ask. Oh, she's still there? Oh, I missed them. Got a quick one.
He's like, nope, gotta go.
I know, that's okay. See, Roman. Roman. He's in his world. So right now he's in love with trains right now.
Oh,
So he's all about seeing, working on the railroad.
have you have like Japan? Like, if you look at Japan has a lot of series of like different trains that are really fun for kids to watch. especially their high-speed trains. So I
Oh,
definitely would recommend like just YouTubing it up and looking at some of the trains there. They go through like some old-fashioned styles to like their bullet trains, and
yeah.
it's a big hobby in Japan.
Believe me, he'll find it somehow. It's really amazing because like he's using my old touch screen desktop that I
Mm.
had, and he's on YouTube now. He somehow he finds trains. Like it's so funny. He's 4, right? But he's able to read and he knows his letters. He'll type it in there and all that. Somehow he gets trains. It's like so. I think he's on that kind of on that spectrum of autism. I think he's. I always want to say he's like a savant, right? Okay, he's a savant. What's going on? He's doing this and that. But we'll see.
It's a
But
good sign that he can actually look and find what he wants to find. That's excellent.
I know, but it surprises me all the time because it's like, yeah. Let me see. I guess if you have any questions for me, let me know. I'm happy to talk. It's meant to be a conversation, so what's on your mind?
Right, I'll let you know. Um, so when you first got his diagnosis, where did you find your information? Like, what was like? How did you find that next step?
Yeah. Oh, thanks. So when I first got diagnosed, I'm gonna tell you this though. Like I had an inkling. So kind of like how your wife was saying, like something is not right, like or something's different. I'm not sure what's going on. And he hasn't really said mommy yet, daddy. He's not like talking like other 2-year-olds like I see. And so in my own mind, I feel like something was going on. So I just started like typing in Google. Honestly, it's like delayed speech or like just typing in terms, and then that brought up autism. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then I saw some videos, like YouTube University is like where I go. Between that and Google, you'll be fully educated. But so then I saw some videos of children with autism, like examples of them. So like the spinning or the hand flapping and tippy toe walking. He didn't do so much tippy toe walking, but I wasn't noticing that he was kind of being more clumsy in a way, like he's like falling, like because he was spinning and how he was walking.
Hmm.
So his gait wasn't, kind of right. So I was like, okay, I'm thinking I'm seeing signs of autism. So when I first, web MD'd him myself, I was like really depressed about it. I was like crying because I didn't want him. I didn't want to have a child in my mind at the time. Having a label or a diagnosis or just all those negative things you think that it could be, right? But then I
Hmm.
finally said he was going to talk at his the 3-year-old annual to bring it up. It's like I really been looking at this for the last 4 months, and I think he may be on autism spectrum. I want to get him checked out. So thankfully at the time I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and my his pediatrician was a great guy. He's like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. And so he referred me. I know how insurance is, right? You gotta get referred and all that. So he referred me to a what do you call those? Child psychologist to get the formal test done.
Hmm.
So he went through all those series of tests, and sure enough, he was considered, I think, moderate, level 2, something like that, level 2 um, autism, because he can say things like he was someone who was script, was what I learned afterwards. So he talked, but it wasn't a functional speech, right? Like he wasn't saying, "Mommy, I need a banana," or whatever. He would just like repeat a song he heard. Like his first words was like nursery rhymes. Or those kinds of things. And I mean, it was a script. It wasn't
It
anything
wasn't
wrong. Yeah.
so
And
it
so
wasn't communicative. It was kind of just out there because he had memorized it and he was playing it.
exactly, yeah, like he heard it from watching, Days of Baby First, whatever.
Hmm.
All those things. Like Color Crew. I think Color Crew may have been his first word. Because like he loved Color Crew. Like he loved his crowns and all that. So yeah, so that's what the inkling was. And then I went to the doctor. We got the formal diagnosis, and then I started learning the terms of it. Okay, some ways we're doing a scripting and all that kind of stuff. So once we got the diagnosis, like I said, thankfully, with the employer that I had, they cover ABA services like at
Oh,
90%. Like unbelievable. Like I was like just thankful to God so that they covered so much of it with the PPO plan that I was on. So I was able to get enrolled. So it just more so took time, you know, it's waiting list, unfortunately, because not many places who offer, or I mean, those who offer it, they're full because of the limited capacity, you know, all those things.
Yes.
So it really came down to that. So thankfully, I said had a responsive pediatrician who referred me, and I was new to that pediatrician. I'll say that because I had someone else before who saw him before, and you would think maybe at 2 years old they would have said something, you know. But at that time, I changed to a new one, and this new one was responsive. So it really does come down to who's your medical support team.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
really come down to that support team, and that's one of the things that we're trying to work with, because we know that Black children actually find, like, their parents find out much later on in life that
Right.
the child has autism. I think the average is around 5 to 7 is the
Mm-hmm.
time. And all of those early, like, intervention programs that, you know, may help a parent learn how to, like, teach in the early stages, which according to, like, a lot of these things count, don't
Mm-hmm.
happen until they're, like, much older, and
Right.
it's much harder to actually work these things out.
It is, and that's the part that was sad to me too. As I learned more about autism and the diagnosis, and how, as on everything, which is, you know, on a topic when it comes to Black people, we're always the last, or it seems like we're always the last to know certain things. Yet we have like, these higher rates of disparity and all those things, you know. So it's just like that's really why I started this channel too, is to bring awareness to Black autism. Because for many respects, as an outsider, not before I got child diagnosed with it, I saw autism as a white thing. I was one of those folks that were like,
Well,
that's white people stuff. Like, you know what I mean? It
but
sounds so
that's the
ignorant,
image
right?
that you
But
get, because that's like all we see is like these, when you see the
yeah,
kid,
you know,
like, on
hey, you
television,
want to
it's
say
like
hi?
autism,
You want
or
to say
this
hi?
child has autism.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
hello. It's okay. So it's kind of like that, where you just see on television, like, especially even back in, like, the, like, 80s and 90s, when you saw those kids having autism, it was always like this white child, usually male, but sometimes female,
Yeah.
that had autism. Um, in the 80s and 90s, it was more ADHD for Black kids, which we're finding out that, like,
Right.
it actually probably, there probably was some diagnosis that is, it may not have been
Right.
ADHD. A lot of times it probably was autism, and
Mm-hmm.
they were being misdiagnosed because of, like, well, it was just easier to label them ADHD.
But that's how I feel too. I totally feel that is that so many children were misdiagnosed or just undiagnosed and probably treated poorly because of that in school systems when they really could need those extra supports, you know, around them getting the kind of education or care that they needed. And because they were quickly dismissed of whatever else, you know, so that's why we're going back to just the awareness is so key amongst our community.
I do kind of feel that we entered this game a little bit late on some of the stuff, so it's not like it was a much more of a catch up. Like, I'd already, like, having been a teacher, I kind of understood what it was. But when I talk to a lot of Black families, they're like, well, you know, I never heard of this. I never heard of any of this problem here. I didn't know that you could get help with this.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of things that, because we don't know how to ask.
Right. That's so true. No, I think I heard a great comment where that you have to be educated some to even ask a question. Like, because if you don't know, you can't ask a question that you don't know about. It's like those
It's
catch
impossible to
22.
ask a question that you don't know about, especially with this, because, like, some people start telling you up, oh yeah, he was on this one, your ASQ, and he was this, and there might be signs, if you knew exactly what that was, that you're like, oh, I was wondering, you said this, but if you don't know, that's not going to help you. And also, there is a big thing of not being labeled within the Black community. I mean, like, I understand it, because, like, being labeled has not brought in really good things for a lot of
Right.
Black parents, especially growing, like, the time period I grew up, like, there was a fight not to get your child labeled, because like once they were labeled like ADHD, that did not bring in like support and stuff for them.
Right.
It brought in a lot of trouble and problems and being kicked out of class.
Right.
And
And
having
that's honestly why my initial ignorant response was, I didn't want to label because I thought the same way that, oh, that's going to put me into the pipeline of prison. I don't know. But it was like,
but
it's like,
that's the feel of it, because that's been kind of like, if we look back, we'll see, oh, and probably in another 10 years, of like, well, yeah, I guess that kid, actually did have more than just ADHD, and those kids that did have that anyway, what did you do for them? You didn't put them in special classes. You didn't understand. You just labeled them, and you said, okay, well, if you're a troublemaker. It wasn't really a label that like helped them out. It was a label that like put them into a category of troublemaker.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I understand why, like, not wanting to have these labels is a big thing in the Black community. But also, it's a hindrance too, because our kids don't get the help they need until much, much later. And by that time, a lot of things have already formed, and there's a lot of things that like they've missed out, and they can't figure out like why they had such a hard time in school when everybody else didn't seem like they were having this hard time. So,
I just had a thought and it escaped. You know how, because like sometimes, because I want to be listening, they're like great saying is like listen to understand, right, not to respond.
right.
So like I had a response in there, and then I just like let it go. It's okay. It'll come back. Let's see. Well, I just like I said, I don't want to hold you too long. I know, and it is a Sunday afternoon. And Harrison, I thank you for really taking that with me on my Spectrum chat, my Spectrum sister chat as my first dad, and hopefully more dads to come talk to. And I look forward to other connections of those other groups. So I talk to those members as we go along. And definitely, I'm going to plug Morgan's Wonderland. I'm going to look into that for a future group trip we all can do as a family. I say family, like all of us can come together.
Oh, are you in our group? Are you in Black Parents?
Yes, I am. The Black Parents with Children with something like that. Yeah. That name.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm in that group.
I would just ask if there's any dads that come there too, because I know that of late we are getting more fathers in. I just haven't. I have a plan with Tosh, who's another administrator, to try to get a dad's group in, but I'm kind of my cup is kind of filling, so I'm trying.
It has to be. Yeah. Well, thanks, Harrison. I'll definitely reach out and let you know too on that end. So I guess with no other questions, we'll have future chats along the way. I'll look forward to more. And as far as those in the comments, please do send a comment, ask questions. It's meant to be hopefully interactive. And I'm going to be posting more and hopefully get some more interaction from others. So thank you, Harrison. And have a blessed Sunday. A good week. Okay. Bye.
Bye.